Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us. It is our Monday team call, Monday, February 29th. So use this last day of the month, push through Team Cup. We've got the final day today. For those of you who were not on the National Wake Up Call this morning, 22-minute hardcore challenge packs will be rolled out before the end of the day today. So they're releasing it early. Let your customers know, those of you who are still pushing for those last couple of points, now's your chance to really kind of crush it, the last few hours of the month. So I am going to jump right in today to our speaker. She is somebody that reached out to me as soon as I got into the 5-star wall, and we've been friendly ever since. I'm so happy to have her on today. She's somebody who has really made a name for herself in this business. She's been a coach since 2010, three-time elite coach, top 10 elite in 2011. She is a 6-star qualifying in her first center, 2-star qualifying in her second. And what did we say? Success Club forever.
Yes.
Since Success Club came out, she has hit it. She's going to talk to us today about making fast friends with your new prospects, not getting stuck in form and sort of being stuck in that little rut of just talking to people forever and not really presenting either the opportunity or an invitation. So welcome, Christina Richardson, to our call today. I'm so happy to have you here.
I know. I'm so happy that we're finally getting to connect. It has been just a pleasure getting to know you since you joined the wall, and it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be invited to present to your team. It's always nice to collaborate with other strong leaders. So it's fantastic to be a part of your call today. So what I would like to ask first is that you get a paper and a pen and a paper, because we are going to really be diving in. I've got my notes all ready, and it's a pretty tall stack.
Perfect.
I'm going to give you guys some pretty dense material today because Brianne asked me to deliver. So I'm here to deliver to make sure that you guys get good and fed. So it's a lot of material, but I will go through it as quickly and as concisely as I can.
Love it.
So today what we're going to be talking about is building fast friends on social media. So a lot of times you may hear the verbiage of forming. My archaic verbiage is the word rapport. Building a rapport with people on social media quickly and not getting stuck in, like we were saying, getting stuck in that rut. For some of us, building a rapport is really a very natural process, a very natural trait that we have instilled in us from birth. It's very outgoing, very talkative. We're that person that you go to the grocery store and we're trying to yammer at you in the grocery store line and you're like, go away, I don't want to be your friend. So some of us, it's super easy for us to build that rapport. And then for others, it's a little bit more difficult. It doesn't come as naturally for us. But the good news is, regardless of where you fall, it can be a learned skill. It's not something that, even if it doesn't come naturally for you, that it's, something that you can't figure out, something that you can't learn. Even the most introvert person can learn how to relate to others. And that's really what we're trying to do, is just learning how to relate to others as quickly and as effectively as possible. So one of the first things I want to talk about is setting the stage. So I want you to think of your Facebook or Instagram or whichever platform you use. I use Facebook, so everything I'm going to refer to is Facebook. So I want you to think of your Facebook page or your profile as your storefront or your stage front. So everything that happens on the stage front should be amazing. It should be like going to Disney World. Everything is happy and wonderful and professional. And it starts as simply as your profile picture. So you've got an amazing profile picture. I can see your beautiful face. If I go to Sabrina's profile page, I can see Sabrina's face. I know what Sabrina looks like. And that, to me, is critical in building that relationship. If I go to Sabrina's page and I see a picture of Sabrina's shoes, I don't know what Sabrina looks like. Okay, so we want to have the stage set immediately because that is going to help you connect with people more quickly. Another thing that's going to help you is as people stalk your page, and they're going to do it, and it's an awesome thing, so embrace it. As people stalk your page, you need to let them get to know who you are. So what are some of the things that you would tell, maybe imagine writing a journal, and you're writing out to your niche market, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but you're writing out in your journal what you want your friends to know about you. You want them to know that you love fitness. You want them to know that you love your kids. You want them to know everything that you want to communicate to your market. So once you define who your market is, say for example, I'll give you my niche market, and then you can figure out, how that applies to you. My niche market is retired military wife. I'm a mom. We homeschool our kids. I love to be outdoors. I struggle with some depression issues, so that I bring that into my niche market as well. And I specifically speak to women. My client base is women. So if you were to go to my like page, you will see me say things like, hey ladies, how are you today, ladies? Or something along those lines, because I'm specifically speaking to females, okay? So when people are coming to your profile page or to your like page, it should communicate directly to who that niche market is, okay? So when you're speaking to them, speak directly to them. So as people are watching your page, they're able to get to know who you are. So that's one element of your stage front, is one element of people being able to get to know who you are. So going behind the scenes, though, we're going to need to talk about how we form people or get to know people behind the scenes more quickly, right? So you met people however you prospect, or for us, we have people coming to us at this point, which is a wonderful thing once your business develops to that point. Are you talking to me, or do you have me, okay. I'm like, I can see your mouth move, but I want to make sure you weren't talking to me. Okay, so as you're building that relationship with people, you want to make sure that even behind the scenes, I'm going to change my, give me just a second. Okay, now I can see everybody, sorry. So basically, what do you want them to know when they come to your page? Backing up. I lost my train of thought, so I'm going to back up a little bit. So what do you want them to know? What do you want people to know when they come to your page? Now, we've talked about what you want to say to your niche market. What do you not want to say to your niche market? This is one of the things as leaders we kind of try to skirt around, and I'm not going to skirt around it today. I want to really put it out there for you guys. There are certain things that should not be done on your stage front. There are certain things that should not be said. They should not be presented. You want to remember that your stage front, your profile, the external front of your profile or like page is the same thing. It's synonymous to your storefront. So anything that you would put in a storefront of some Gap store or Banana Republic or Victoria's Secret, that's what you would put in your stage front, in your storefront. So you wouldn't walk by Victoria's Secret and see a hot topic right now is politics. You wouldn't see a politics thing stuck in the Victoria's Secret window. You wouldn't see that, right? Because those things bring friction to the environment. So you want to avoid anything that's going to bring friction to the environment. Because remember, we're helping people get to know us as quickly as possible. So what are some ways that we can be inviting, that Disneyland, utopian, inviting environment without pushing people out? We want to bring them into us. Okay, so what are some, just be thinking about some different ways that you can have an inviting environment on your page. Some other ways are team recognition. If you have a team of your own, make sure that you're recognizing your team. Fitness success stories. You want to make sure that you're mentioning fitness success stories within your own company, within your own development, your own clients, or success stories off the Team Beachbody page until you have your own client stories to share. You always want to be talking to your niche market, and the bottom line is when somebody comes to your page, you want it to just scream positive energy, okay? You want your page to scream positive energy. Okay, let's go behind the scenes. Regardless of how you got somebody into a conversation behind the scenes, whether you sent them an invite to a challenge group, or you just met somebody on a Facebook page, or somebody reached out to you and said, oh my gosh, your transformation was so incredible, tell me what you did. Regardless of how you got that person into a private message, that is where the magic happens. In your private messages is where your magic happens. Your magic is not going to happen on your Facebook storefront with you posting information about a product. You know, once in a while we might post out like the 22-minute hardcore is coming today. We just found out. You might post about that, right? But that shouldn't be the concentration of the content of your page. Those things should happen behind the scenes. So regardless of how you get somebody behind the scenes and discussing things behind the scenes, the quickest way to get to know somebody is to ask them a lot of questions. One of the biggest things you'll find, whether it's in this industry or in any other industry that you're working with people, is that people they want to talk about themselves. Period. People want to talk about themselves. So how do we get people to talk about themselves? We ask questions. We have to be genuinely interested in asking questions. And I don't want, you know, it's of my philosophy that we shouldn't get hung up on, okay, I asked what their career is, now I need to ask about their kids, right? Is that crud? Which one comes next? Instead, I think that it's super important that you just allow the flow of that conversation to be natural. Because if you allow the flow of conversation to become natural, then you're asking questions that may not be on that magic list of things that you're supposed to ask. And you'll find out more information in the end by just allowing that conversation to be natural. Just like walking up to somebody at the grocery store and starting a conversation. You're not trying to find out specifically about their career, their kids, these specific questions. You're just genuinely getting to know somebody because maybe you're bored standing in line. You've been standing in line, it's Christmas Eve, and you're standing in line for 2 hours, and you're bored and you have to talk to somebody, So allow the conversation to be as natural as possible, because when you start to put people in conversations within the parameters of a box, it becomes very unnatural, and it is the quickest, surest way to get somebody to stop responding to you. Okay? If you allow the natural progression of the conversation, you genuinely want to know whatever comes next. Instead of you're talking about this thing over here, maybe you're talking about lawn maintenance, and then all of a sudden you asked about their kids. And it's can be kind of creepy sometimes. So you really want to allow that to have a natural progression. So the secret sauce behind that, though, is asking tons and tons of questions and then being relatable. So if they tell you about lawn maintenance, what can you share about lawn maintenance? Do you have anything to offer, or maybe you need to move on to something else? If they share with you about their kids, what can you offer them information about your kids so that they feel like you guys are finding some common ground? Because the core secret to building rapport is finding common ground. And once you find that common ground, then you're on lightning. You could just fly forward, okay? This process of asking lots of questions, determining who they are, letting them figure out who you are, shouldn't take weeks. It should take, brace yourself, hours. Okay? Not weeks, hours. They can go to your page. They see who you are. You have that platform there. It's all there. It's right there. This is who I am. I'm a wife. I got kids. I just got done doing X, Y, and Z. You know exactly where I was for the last 3 hours of my life. What more do you need to know? Now we ask them questions. Okay, we got X, Y, and Z from them. We can go to their page and stalk them a little bit, and now we know where they were for the last 3 hours, and quite frankly, that's all I need to know. Okay? So you ask them questions, they ask you questions. We've gotten to know each other a little bit. Moving them to the next step is going to take trust, right? So it may not happen within that couple of hours, but your job in forming or building that rapport there is done. So I always tell my team, build that rapport, build that connection, partner them with a product, partner them with coaching, and then put them on a list. And that list is a nurturing list. You periodically go to their page and see how they're doing. You periodically follow up with them. You continually ask them for a commitment. From that very first day when you build that rapport, you continually ask them for a commitment. You're asking them commitment question repeatedly. So I've got lots and lots of questions. Commitment question. Okay, not ready to commit. We overcome some objections. We ask another commitment question. Okay, you're still kind of on the fence. All right, moving on to somebody else. I am not going to focus on this one person for hours upon hours upon hours. Those of us that are wildly successful in this business focus on 100 people, okay, instead of that one. We get those questions asked, we get a profile built on somebody, we make sure that they're on a list to follow up with them, we continually ask them those commitment questions, continually inviting them, but we don't focus on that one person. It drives me batty when my coaches will come to me and they're like, well, I have this one lady. And I'm like, okay. Because Carl says it best when he says it's super important for us to recognize that the timing has to be right. We can't make the timing right for them. We can just stay in front of them continually so that when the timing is right, we're there asking that commitment question, asking them to the next group, asking them to participate. While in that process is happening with hundreds of people at one time, okay? It has been my experience over the last 6 years that typically it takes somebody for me. Now, mind you, I'm continually filling people into the pipeline. Okay, so you've got people coming into the pipeline all the time. We should always be adding to our list. Every single day, you should be adding to your list. Okay, you've got people continually coming into the pipeline. It is my experience that it takes, if we're talking about one person coming into the pipeline, you've got this whole segment of people coming in, but let's just talk about one instance. One person coming in the pipeline should take 10 to 14 days to get a commitment from them. That's my experience. 10 to 14 days. So if you're continually bringing people into the pipeline, you're continually doing this process, you're building that initial rapport, asking all those questions, letting them know you're available, following up with them by just getting on their page periodically and being present, being in front of them all the time, and you're doing those things, you're asking those commitment questions and constantly bringing somebody in. Here's the magic. You're constantly bringing people in, and that 10 to 14 days later, there's constantly people coming out. So you're always building your list, you're always building that quick rapport, and you're not sitting there finding out what the name of their third cousin's second cat's nephew's brother's color of their car is. Then you can continually move your business forward. It is our job. It is critical to our job. Critical for people to know us and trust us. That initial rapport is critical. Okay, the people that come into this business, and I've watched it happen, the people that come into this business that don't take the time to build that initial rapport fail. They fall flat on their face. And it's not a good kind of fail, like failing forward kind of fail. It's a fail like ugly kind of fail, okay? But if you take that time to build that initial relationship and you plant that seed, the rest of that process kind of naturally progresses on its own. You have to maintain a list. You have to follow up with people. They say the fortune is in the follow-up. You have got to do those things. If you bring people in, remember we were talking about bringing them in, then they go out 10 to 14 days later. If you bring people in and you're not doing those commitment questions repeatedly throughout the process, overcoming objections, oh, I don't have the money right now, overcome, commitment question. Well, I don't have the time, overcome, commitment question. If you're not doing those things repeatedly, then they never go out. See? So you can bring them in and you can build a rapport and you can find out about the cousin's cat. But if you're never asking those commitment questions and you're never pushing them through the pipeline, they never graduate to a commitment. And that's our goal, right? We can make friends all day long. We could be, we could go volunteer somewhere. We can even be like missionaries. That'd be cool. We could be missionaries, travel the world, but we wouldn't be able to help people with their fitness if we did that, right? So our goal here is not to be missionaries, and it's not to be therapists. It's not to make lifelong friends, although that's the consequence of our business. Our goal here is to determine someone's needs as quickly as possible, partner them with a tool that will better their life in amazing ways, get them to see that all it takes is for them to make a simple yet very scary commitment, and to gradually move them and develop them, and hopefully into a coach someday for your team. So it's really when we get hung up on having that continual conversation, what I feel like is happening at that point is it's kind of our excuse to not go meet more people. At the end of the day, it's comfortable for us to talk to the person that we've already built a rapport with because we're comfortable with that person now, than to go out and meet more people. So the secret to the system working, to being a successful Beachbody coach, my philosophy is the secret is always be talking to new people. Always be building that rapport with new people. And not to get stalemated in having the same conversation. You know what? It's awesome if you meet somebody that you really connect with and you want to go have coffee, and then you can talk about politics over coffee at the Mermaid Place. But that's not why we're here. We're here to get a job done, and if you want to pay your bills with the job that you're trying to do, the Mermaid Place thing has got to be separate. You got to compartmentalize that into a separate box. Because in this box, we have to focus on this pipeline. We have to focus on getting people in, get to know them, push them through, overcome objections, get a commitment, develop them, groom them, grow them, hopefully get them to become a coach if it's for them. If it's not, that's great too. But meeting somebody in January and going to a Christmas party with them in December and there's been no commitment made is not okay. Okay? Because what happens then is the leaders on your team are getting phone calls that sound like, I'm not growing, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And then we want to hit our heads against the wall because we're like, ah! Okay, so ask lots and lots of questions. That is definitely the key. If you haven't really dug into building your skill as far as overcoming objections, that's a huge part of this. That's covered in the Coach Basics. I don't know if you guys run Coach Basics. It's covered in the Coach Basics curriculum quite extensively, though. There's tons of material out there to help you with that. But one of the things that you definitely want to focus on is being able to overcome objections so that you can, as you move people through that pipeline, you can overcome their objections, because I know that's a sticking point for a lot of coaches. One of the things I want to touch on is what happens if a customer or a client or a prospect stops responding to you? How do you get that conversation restarted? The first thing you want to do is go to their page and scan to see what has been going on in their life, okay? That is super critical, because the last thing you want to do is send them a message that says, hey, you haven't been responding to my messages, I guess you're not interested, or something kind of rash like that, without first, not that I would recommend that message regardless, but if you sent something that was a little insensitive without going to look at their page, it could be bad. Let me share a story with you really fast. I had this girl, she was super interested in coaching, like super interested. We were about to get on the phone, she was ready to go, and then she drops off the face of the planet, like literally stops responding to my messages, stops responding to my calls, and I'm like, what in the world? What happened? I mean, it happens. It happens to all of us. But it was kind of a weird thing. So I went to her page and I looked. That's the great thing about profile pages. We know exactly what's going on, right? I went to her page and I scanned through her page, and come to find out her husband had a heart attack and he was in the hospital with having open heart surgery. So you always want to be informed. As much informed as your clients are seeking and kind of stalking you, you need to be informed and use the information that they're posting on their page as is intel to help you connect with people. That's going to speed the process along for you. So you definitely want to invoke the power of stalking, because if a conversation kind of goes flat, you may find something on their page that you can connect with them again and have that restart. Say they had a girls' weekend out, and you can message them, hey, how was your girls' weekend out? I saw that you guys had a great time. You know, I haven't done that in forever, and oh my gosh, I would love to do that. The kids are driving me crazy. I could use a girls' weekend. You know, just different ways for you to help reconnect with your client base. Okay, so I think that is about everything that I have. I do have some tools that I want to share with you guys that are super important. One of the things that I mentioned was that follow-up is key. And I see that Annie is driving, so I don't want her writing these down. Maybe somebody can send these notes over to her. But there is a couple of what you call CRMs, which is a customer relationship manager. And there's a few of them that are free. They're super awesome because I will be the first one to tell you that I pretty much suck at follow-up, okay? And a lot of people really struggle with this. We're great at going out and finding new people. We're really bad. Some of us are really bad at keeping those contacts organized, especially at this point. I have thousands upon thousands of contacts, and I've never really, they've been on stick-it notes for the last 6 years until recently. So don't be a stick-it note person. Make sure that when you're finding people, you're feeding them through that pipeline progressively and very concisely so you know exactly where people are. Some really cool tools. One of them is Nimble. It's Nimble. The cool thing about Nimble is if you use Google Chrome, it actually has a plugin where Facebook has changed things to where they've made it very difficult to export information directly out of Facebook, like messages or contacts, unless you run like a huge report. But Nimble found a workaround where it has a plugin where if you're on somebody's profile page you can click a button on the plugin and it will export the contact information from the profile page into your Nimble. And so let me tell you a little bit about more what a CRM is. A CRM is basically a really prettied up database of your contacts. It holds information like name, address if you choose to store that, phone number. The great stuff is the last time you contacted them, what you talked about, what program they were interested in, what some of their difficulties are. You could store notes like how many kids do they have, whatever you want to store in there. It allows you kind of freedom to do that. Nimble is the only CRM that I have found that will talk to Facebook. I'm sure there are others, but from my knowledge, Nimble is the only one that I know of. It will also do tasks and calendar and all of that stuff for you. So it'll set reminders. Say if I met Barbara and I wanted to remind myself to follow up with Barbara in 7 days, Nimble would remind me to follow up with Barbara. Okay, so these are great tools. Another one that I super duper love, but it does not talk to Facebook, is called Basecamp. It's B-A-S-E Camp, C-A-M-P. It's another CRM. It doesn't talk to Facebook at all from what I can gather, but it's really cool. It's a really cool one you should check out. And then of course, if you don't want to do a full CRM, you can do Excel. Evernote is a great tool you can use. A lot of the leaders use Google Docs. Just some different ways that you can keep track of the people that you're meeting and how you're processing them through your process of relationship, so that you make sure you're taking people from that first meeting to that commitment without losing anybody, without letting people fall through the cracks. One of my favorites as far as personal development when it comes to building rapport, overcoming objections, is the old school, not relationship marketing, which is what we do, but the old school, if you can handle it, sales tactic, the old school archaic way. Brian Tracy has some phenomenal books. Phenomenal, but he's very old school. He's not relationship marketing, but I'll tell you, he is still my go-to for getting it done. That man gets stuff done, okay? That's all I have for you guys today. Tell me what questions you have.
This was awesome. I have like pages of notes and I'm sitting here like
Yay.
Wishing that there were other coaches that were on, but we'll get the recording to them as soon as we hang up. But this was great. I've never heard of either of those CRMs either, so I'm going to go look at them. Does anybody have questions? What do I use? I used Asana for a long time, and it just didn't do what I needed it to do. And based on all the recommendations that we've got, where some of us, I know Annie's been testing out Streak for a while, and she loves it.
Yeah.
And I do everything on Gmail anyway, so I think that's probably what I'll move to. But yeah, I used Asana for a long time and it worked, and it was kind of like it works for a good while, and then when your pipeline gets too big, it's a little too difficult to manage. It's great for new coaches. They've got an app that you can put right on your phone.
Yep.
And you've got the due dates and the follow-up dates. And for that, it was great. But about 6 or 7 months ago, it just got to be too big for me. So I'm kind of bouncing in between, Excel.
I just took the plunge. I can't recommend it to my team because of the expense, and I feel like we don't have a lot of coaches that are ready for it. But I just took the plunge to Infusionsoft, about 30 days ago, and I'm still trying to get it set up, and it's making me. So eventually you guys will move to something called Infusionsoft, and it is just a monstrosity. It's what Shailene Johnson uses, I think.
Yeah.
It's very robust, but these programs that I've shared with you here in Asana, I've heard of that one.
Asana is free too. It's a great thing to use. if you're somebody who needs it on the go, which I did, like I was always sitting at preschool pickup trying to follow up with people. So to have the list on my phone was really helpful. But I want to go look at that Nimble because I like that it kind of can integrate with Facebook.
Nimble was my favorite aside from, of course, I had to go to something like, I felt like I really needed Infusionsoft, and I'm praying that it pays off, the investment pays off. But Nimble, out of all of them, seemed like it was the most user-friendly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you said Nimble was free, right?
I'm pretty sure that Nimble is free, yes.
All right. Does anybody have questions for Christina before we let her go?
I just wanted to ask, in terms of the commitment questions that you mentioned, can you kind of give an example of like commitment questions? Because I have a lot of people right now who are, oh yeah, I really want to do it. And then, I don't want to like be in their face all the time. So it's like, I don't email them every single day. Like, oh, did you decide to do it yet or anything? Maybe if there's just like a softer approach to kind of push them a little, that like extra bit.
I don't know about soft approach. I don't know if that's my style, but let us see what I can do. So let me ask you this, Christina. If I were to say to you, hey, Christina, there's this really cool movie. It just came out. It's like such a really neat chick flick. And you're like, awesome. But in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, I really wish we could go together. It's so fun. But I never asked you. Like, what are you supposed to, like, read my mind? There should be a mind reading book. Read my mind. It's the same kind of thing with this. Like, people are not going to jump in your lap. So if I need you to go to that movie with me because I need a girls' night out, then I need to say, Christina, there's this really cool movie just came out. Do you want to go with me? And that's kind of it's the same thing. There has to be, okay, so commitment questions. Are you ready to join my challenge group? Are you ready to get involved in clean eating? Would some free nutrition help you? Can you commit to 30 minutes a day? What time of day? I love the assumed. I'm bad at assumed. What time of day do you plan to work out? I mean, once they tell you what time of day they're going to do it, then they've already committed. Now it's just a matter of, okay, well, which one do you want? Out of these two programs that I've shown you, which one do you want? We have got to move past. If I asked you to go to the movie, that's not aggressive. I don't know. I mean, we may be different socially, but that doesn't seem aggressive to me. So, and it's got to be the same thing in your mind when you're asking people to commit to their health. That's not aggressive. That is you trying to help people better their life. And so I really think at that point, it's not necessarily a confidence thing, but it's how we genuinely, our belief system. So if we genuinely believe that what we have is great and what we're sharing is amazing and the things that we have to offer can change lives, then why would I not ask everybody I know to join that party? Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, I don't think that would come across right. You know what? If it's the end of the world and I have the last tank of oxygen, I don't really give a tar how it comes across. Okay? And if you have a gift, literally a gift, I love how Carl, you guys can't tell I'm a huge Carl fan, can you? I love how Carl explains it as a gift to give to somebody. They're struggling with depression. They're struggling with anxiety. They've been trying for years to lose weight. They're desperate for help. And you have the answer they're not going to beg us. We know they're not going to say, help me, help me. Instead, we have to say, hey, I have the answer. Do you want to join me? Do you want to do this? Do you want to try this? Do you want to give this a go? This might be the solution for you. This might be what you've been looking for. The wrap thing didn't work. This might. Sorry. Little slip of the tongue.
No, but that's completely right. And I think that sometimes to kind of piggyback on what Christina was just saying, because it just sort of triggered something in my head. I don't know, were you at leadership, Christina?
Mm-mm.
Okay. You guys go, and I posted this in the team page as soon as I came home because it was something for me that was so incredibly powerful that no matter where you are in this business, especially for a new coach, she's shaking her head. I think she already knows what I'm talking about. Vito got up on stage and did a whole talk on confidence.
Yep.
And he said something that I feel like every day when I go to invite somebody, it has stuck in my head. And if you know Vito, you know he's got such charisma, he's so enigmatic, and he's so passionate about what we do that no matter what he's talking about, you feel that within him. And he stood there and he said, why would we ever deprive anybody of knowing what we do? We have the cure for obesity in one hand and the cure for being broke in the other. Why would we ever want to not share that with people? And when you can remember that, that's going to kind of help you overcome any kind of objection. And what Christina's saying is you have to bring that. You have to bring that passion. And when you really feel that, like, this has changed my life, I need to share this with the world. People won't come across, you won't come across to people as salesy or bothering them. You come across as excited. And when you can kind of channel that, the objections, I think, are easier to overcome. And that's something that just comes with experience. I see the coaches who've been around longer, they're nodding their heads like they know what I'm talking about. Does anybody else have questions before we go? No? Going once, going twice?
Going once, going twice.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much for taking the time today to hop on with us. This was so good. Guys, the recording will be posted as soon as we are done in this uploads. But Christina, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. And again, I just love collaborating with you, and it's wonderful to be here with you guys. You guys have an amazing leader. She is one of our shining lights in our leadership page. So you guys are very lucky to have her. You're in good hands, and just listen to what she says, remain coachable, and you will soar with the eagles.
Thank you. I'm excited to talk to your team tomorrow. So yeah, it'll be good. So thanks, guys. If you have questions, like I said, make sure you share this with your team, post below, and we'll make sure that we get this recording up to you guys soon. So thanks again, Christina, and make it a great week, guys. Have a good one.